Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. I'm in the house today with a friend of mine that runs an awesome clubhouse room with some buddies of his. I love supporting these guys, and I'm interested in finding out what he's made of, but also just, getting to know him. And I want you to get to know him as an audience. But before I do that, I just want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for paying attention to what I put out and supporting the What Are You Made Of movement and becoming unstoppable. And so today I have my friend Byron Holman. He's a real estate investor from Houston, Texas. Also the creator of the 9 to 5 Millions Masterclass, helping others achieve the same successes he's had in real estate investment. Oh man, this guy needs a blueprint. What do you guys think? Yeah. So we'll be talking to him about Blueprinted as well. But until then, or until we get to that, Byron, we have this tradition of asking our guests, what are you made of?
Oh man, that's a good question, man. I think I'm made of non-stop determination. If I can sum it up to anything, man, I think the cheat code for any level of success that I've made throughout my many failures, I mean, to be completely transparent, has been my unwillingness to give up on myself and my dreams and what I believe. C-Roc, I think that is what has always propelled me to anything great, because I can't sit up here in front and act like it's always been easy for me, because it hasn't. It's been a struggle to a certain degree for every level and everything that I've gained throughout my life. But I would say that secret sauce is 100% just not giving up on myself. If I can sum it up and put it in like a nice little bottle for you. Like,
yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. I like that. So, I have a saying, and this is why this show is so powerful, is because the journey to success is often invisible, and I want to expose it in a good way, because not everybody sees everything. And what I always the saying that I have is, it's never as bad as you think it is, but it's never as good as the other people are viewing it from the outside either, right?
Absolutely.
So I love that you said that. So take us back, man. Where did you grow up? What was it like being a kid? Like, what kind of family did you have? Where did it all start?
C-Roc, I always like to preface by saying this. I grew up in the hood, right? But I grew up with a really good, solid family. My mom and my dad were if I can liken it to something, they were like the Huxtables of the hood, right?
So, yeah.
You know what I mean? Good, solid father, good, solid mother. But, it came with a caveat. And that caveat was that we grew up seeing some pretty rough stuff, like my dad sold drugs, my grandmother, she sold drugs, good people, right? But just as a result of just being in that environment, man, it just kind of lended itself to those kind of things. And it never was too rah-rah, it was pretty chilled. I didn't have a lot of violent upbringing or anything like that. My parents were very respectful towards each other growing up, but at the same time, I had those influences all around me all the time, and it was just kind of like a commonplace thing. And so, as a result of that, I ended up being forced into some pretty ugly things. I always had my entrepreneurial spirit with me, though, and that kind of drove me into a lot of entrepreneurial ventures. But I've dibbled and dabbled into some things that weren't so legal as a result of my upbringing as well. And it was kind of like a mixture of all of those things combined. I've tried some risky things, some things riskier from a legal perspective, but all in all, I would say that I learned lessons from every entrepreneurial experience, whether it was legal or illegal. And that all just kind of shaped it and molded me to who I am today, for sure.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I grew up in a household for a while that my dad he had a great business. He was a mason and what have you. And then I was in an abusive situation with my stepmother, so I decided to leave. And when I decided to leave that environment, it was abusive, but my dad had it. Like we would trips, like and then went to my mom's, who didn't have anything. And she was on to her third marriage. And then, I chose that lifestyle over the abusive situation. And even though we didn't have any money, I didn't really know any better. Like, it was like as a kid, but it was a rough neighborhood. I'd be jumped. I'd be in fights. Like I can relate to all this. Then I get to college And I got into stuff I shouldn't have got into as well, man. So I feel you on that. I'm not going to, I don't ever judge anybody because I can't, because I'm not perfect. And I just think back to some of the stupid shit that I've done in my life. Like, thank God nobody got hurt, one. And number two, I didn't get like in trouble, I mean, like,
Absolutely.
but,
Absolutely.
but yeah, but you know what? Like, one of the things that people don't realize, though, even if they don't get in trouble, they don't realize what they're doing to their mind, their subconscious mind, and clouding up their ability to be creative and successful. So it's great that we eventually get out of that. What was the first step that led you into the on the right track, so to speak?
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. It's a perfect segue into what really happened. So I getting in trouble was actually what helped me to transition my entire life. So I would say that before that, I thought that I was pretty good at everything that I was doing. I've always kind of been able to make money throughout. I mean, even since 14. At 14, I was no longer receiving money from my parents for lunch money or any of those things. I was making my own money at that age. And I was fairly independent at that point, outside of course, a place to stay. But in terms of making money, I've always done that. But when I got in trouble, it changed the way I viewed a lot of things. C-Roc. It was because prior to that, it's funny because I make way more money now from a financial standpoint. But if you would have saw me when I was making less money, I'd probably look like I had more money,
Yep,
right?
yep,
So
yep.
so it was a couple things with that. I end up catching a drug case that landed me in jail, and I was looking at about 15 years to life. It was probably one of the worst situations that ever happened to me simultaneously. And the reason why I say it was one of the worst things that ever happened is because when that happened, C-Roc, I divorced a lot of things that were toxic in my life, that I didn't even know were toxic. A couple things. Number one was my desire to please everybody. I was an extreme people pleaser, not necessarily in a pushover kind of way, more so I did a lot of things to impress people,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah. That's what I
wore
was
a
gonna
lot of
say. Yeah.
clothing. I wore clothing to impress people. I had nice, fancy cars to impress people. Didn't know that I was doing those things to impress people. But when I got in that situation, I found out that a lot of the people that I was doing all of the things to impress could care less about, even if I was facing 15 years to life, or if I walked the case. And so as a result of that, it sent me down another journey, and that journey was self-discoverment. And I really discovered who I was, what I really really wanted out of life, and the type of person that I wanted to be. And that sent me to books like Robert Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad. Also, I got into the Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover. And you know also, I was working. I ended up getting like this little job at a hospital because, of course, my income had dramatically decreased, and I had big lawyer fees, and I refused to take 15 years of life on the chin. I'm a fighter. At the end of the day, man,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to come with some real strong stuff to take me off of my square. And so I fought that case with everything that I had. C-Roc. Luckily, I had some money, and I was able to fight, from a financial standpoint. And also, I just had that wherewithal, and I knew that, I believed in me. And so I ended up getting, I was working with a lot of Nigerians, and they would pour into me all the time. And they'd say, "Hey, Byron, you need to go to nursing school." And I'll be like, "Nursing school? Like, yo, like what I look like going to nursing school?"
Right, right, right.
And so they would pour into me. And I ended up saying, "You know what? I thought about it. I was like, they make pretty good money. Maybe I'll go ahead and give it a try." So I did. And while I was fighting my case, I'm literally fighting my case, I started going to nursing school. See, and as a result of that, I started picking up some momentum. Grades were top notch because I was focused. I was like a laser beam focused on getting this thing done. And the judge, she once she found out, she kind of took a liking to the fact that I was, moving my life in that direction.
Well, this is
And
why you were put away. You
this
were
I was fighting the case. So I went to jail, and then I got out.
Okay. Okay.
on bond.
Okay. Gotcha.
And while I was on bond, I was fighting the case.
Gotcha.
And so the judge was like, once she saw that, I think she just kind of took a liking to it. I don't know if it swayed the case either way, but I know for a fact that I was able to 100% beat that case, 100%. After about 2 years of fighting that case. Now, that didn't help me with the nursing school thing, because everywhere I applied, I got denied until I got one school that accepted me, because I put on there that I didn't have any offenses, because at that time I was like, yo, this thing is about to get dropped. I kept getting a lot of reassuring language from my lawyer that they were going to drop it. And so I put on there that I wasn't convicted of anything. And so I get there, and first couple of weeks, I'm doing pretty good, get called into the back office, and they were like, well, Byron, we got some good news and some bad news. The good news is, you're doing pretty good in the program. The bad news is we're going to have to kick you out. Devastated, absolutely devastated. And this was right about a week before I found out that I had beat my case. And
how old were you roughly?
Oh man, I was maybe about 28, something like that.
Okay, late 20s. All right. Yeah.
And so I'm devastated, absolutely devastated. And so when in this process, I ended up going all the way up to the top, and I begged that, they let me go ahead and stay. And they ended up granting me access to stay after they went through, found out that I was 100%. The case was dropped. Everything was good. And I was given that second chance. And after that, man, everything about me changed. I would literally, when I finished nursing school, C-Roc, I was living in the projects, right? Despite making a very healthy income, I stayed in the projects, kept my old car. I worked my face off, right? And I lived on only about 30% of my income. For a very long time. I budgeted like a hawk. I would use apps like mint.com, and I would just budget. And because I knew that I was going to invest in something that was going to change the rest of my, my life, because I had that entrepreneurial bug. You never really just get rid of that thing. It lays dormant for a little while. But it sticks with you. And so, and that's how I ended up finding real estate. At first, it was going to be franchises like Subways, and I found out that those a lot of those have caps on it. I wanted something with no cap, and ended up finding real estate, and that's where everything else changed.
So before you get into that part, like, did you going back to the hood or the projects and doing what you needed to do to stay straight and go where you wanted to go? What were the friends and all the people around you before? Like, were they getting on you? Were they trying to pull you back in? Like, how did that all go?
So I would say yes and no. So the good thing was, when a lot of the fake friends, right, they kind of fell off, right? They distanced themselves because, for one, I was a liability at this point, right? And I understood that, at the end of the day, they don't want to be around me. They don't know if I'm turning informant. They don't know if they don't know what's going on. So
especially when you beat a case, they could think that you're snitching. Right.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know if you know, like, by my last name, I'm Italian, so I know about all that stuff. So
absolutely. I checked that out. And so that was the thing. So a lot of those people, they distanced themselves like cold turkey, right? A couple of them I kept in contact with, but for the most part, it was, we cut ties. And also, even in my personal life, some of those people, I was a liability to them as well, because, a lot of these people, I took care of, and for me to not be in a position to, take care of them, right? They were like, okay, you're useless for me. And matter of fact, if anything, you're going to maybe be asking me for something. And that's not the relationship that we've grown to have an understanding on, it was more of a one-way street, their side, you know what I mean? So it just is what it is,
Yeah. So one thing also, like, I had a company that fell apart. I take full responsibility for it because I let people into my environment that weren't in alignment with my values. I took production over being in alignment with my values, and an owner of a company that we were building this division for, and took money, all this other stuff. Right. But when that happened and I went through that dark time, I felt like I was identifying as that person, like this division manager, this dude that was making, money was coming in, and I was taking care of people and helping people, and all of a sudden it was gone, and I identified as that, but my pride and ego were hurt. And that was a dark period of time for a while. I felt like I lost my identity, but you had to have gone through something like that when you did that, and then going to
Oh my
nursing,
God.
which nothing wrong with being a nurse and going, nothing wrong, but not after living the high life, even though it might have been borderline, whatever, you still have money and people are looking up to you. You're taking care of people. Like, how did you get that? How, first of all, did you feel that? How deep did you feel that? And how fast did you get out of
Uh,
that feeling?
I went extremely low. I went extremely low. But here was the thing. When I went low, it was weird, C-Roc, because I went low, but then I discovered me. And so it was hurtful and depressing in that initial phase of it. But after I kind of embraced it, and I accepted the reality for what it was, I really, really got in touch with who I was, at what I really, really wanted, what really, really drove me. And that gave me a new level of confidence, because now, from it was almost kind of like it was a new sense of freedom, because now I don't have to please all of these fake people anymore. Yes, these people were in my life, and I had a lot of respect, and I had all these different things. But what really does it matter if they're not going to be there for you in your worst times?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I immediately, I disassociated myself with that need to be that person, to a certain degree. And of course, I'm probably that person now. I hire a ton of people now. I'm a leader in my company now, and so I'm essentially that same person again. It's just a more straight, narrow path,
Right,
so to
right.
speak.
Well, and there's no, and
Um,
there's no limits to this. Like, there's always a limit to illegal activity. There's always limits, because, well, like
Absolutely,
like like Escobar didn't have any place to put his money. His biggest problem was he had so much cash, he didn't have a place to put it. And so you always run into a
absolutely,
limit other places. But real estate now, ooh,
limitless,
yeah, yeah.
limitless.
So how did you? What was your first move after you had the money saved up?
So I saved up pretty good, and I ended up running into a buddy that I went to high school with, and he was ranting and raving about this whole real estate thing, and I'm like, yo, like, I've seen these little seminars, you see these things that come on late at night, you know what I mean, and so I was just kind of like, I don't really know. I was a little skeptical about it, and so I ended up going to one of the seminars with him. I didn't go to that one, and then I ended up going to another one, which was Fortune Builders, and thought about it, and I was like, I kind of got cold feet on it, because it just seemed like it was just a little too polished. And then I ended up connecting back with my buddy and joined this local group called the Big Dogs. And it was probably one of the best $20,000 investments I ever spent, because I ended up, I was able to connect with some mentors that were local to me, and I was able to build some relationships with some guys that were able to help me catapult really, really quickly. And I think it was a combination of that prior natural hustle spirit that I've kind of always had, that entrepreneurial bug I've always had, mixed with, I just gave these people 20,000 of my dang on dollars. And it's
Yeah.
either I'm gonna be the biggest idiot in the world, or I'm gonna have to make this thing work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Now, was
And
that it? Was that money just to use for mentorship and coaching, or was it that did that go into it as an investment?
it was mentorship and coaching.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and networking. So it was
Yeah.
it was
Networking.
yeah. So I would say the networking was probably the most valuable of all of it. You know what I mean? Because um, the mentorship was, it was cool. I learned some information, but I'll be honest with you, a lot of the information that I learned, I could probably pull up a video on YouTube that can show me that, and probably more.
Yeah.
But it was the people that I gained access to, that was probably the most beneficial to me overall, because I was able to hit the ground running. I mean, extremely fast. I made my money back in probably the next 3 months after joining that program. So,
Damn. So what was the
and
deal? What was the first deal?
so my first deal was actually, so it was funny, because it was right around the time when Hurricane Harvey hit. So, my investment experience was a little bit. I would say I was a little luckier than most in that regard, because when Hurricane Harvey hit, it was a lot of investment opportunities around,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the Houston area. But of course, I didn't know that. I was just jumping into the space, and Hurricane Harvey hit. So I was putting out my little bandit signs. I buy houses, nurse buys houses, all of those signs out, and people loved it. And I was getting a ton of calls. Ended up getting a call on a property out in Alvin, Texas, and the guy had he had gotten all his insurance money. The house had flooded out, and he pretty much was selling it to me for a rock bottom price. And I was able to buy that property, flipped it. I think I made anywhere from 15 to 20 grand on that deal. Did a couple other ones, and it was just kind of like a snowball effect from there. And it was just pretty much a wholesale deal. I literally put the property under contract and turned around and sold it to another investment buyer who was looking to, put the money into it and fix and flip. And once
You didn't fix that one up at all, the first one?
I didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
All I did was literally contract it, literally get it under contract, take it to somebody else that I knew that was in, that wanted to buy it, and put the sweat equity into it. And I sold it to them and made me that, I think it was $15,000-$20,000 spread on that first deal.
Gotcha. And then you're like, damn, this is easy.
Absolutely. But I was a little disillusioned, because here's the deal. I came in at a hot time when that particular style of marketing, everything, it was a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Right. Everything was working because a lot of people were hurting at that time. And that was, when, unfortunately, in my business, when, downturns, floods, anything that's going on like that happens, my business turns up. Like during COVID, I mean, we had record numbers in during COVID.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is,
And so you do single families now, or are you in the multifamily? What space are you in now?
So I primarily focus on the single family. That's what we do. We probably service, I'd say, anywhere from about 3 to about 7% of the market at any given time, and that market is typically people who are looking to sell for fast cash. They're typically in a situation where they're needing to offer property really, really quick, and they need somebody to help solve a problem for them. And we're usually that solution. We put some money in their hands really, really quickly, and and we can do it without embarrassing showings, them having to fix anything up on the house or do anything spectacular to kind of make that happen. We're typically pretty healthy solution for a lot of people in the marketplace.
Yeah. Now, are you holding any of the properties now in like rentals, or are you flipping everything?
I'm starting to. Yes, I just started that process. I wish I would have held on to a lot more than I sold, but but I am holding on to properties now for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you imagine holding all of them and saying like, just got to find the money, right? But the capital, but damn, man, you'd have who knows how many. So how did you get involved with Nelson and Jonathan and Jerry? Was it all Clubhouse, or did you guys know each other before?
It was all Clubhouse, So I do a room called Business Over Breakfast in the mornings.
I've been in there.
And yeah. And so that room, it's done really, really good. It's probably one of the bigger rooms in the morning. And and Jonathan holds a room as well. So we met, we would, I'd go in his room, he'd go in my rooms, and we kind of just collaborate there, here and there. And Nelson would come to Business Over Breakfast as well. And Jerry's never really came, but I would go to some of his rooms. And so Nelson kind of, oddly enough, he kind of had a lot of connections in a lot of different places. Like he'd be on some of the biggest stages with the JT Foxes and all those people.
Yeah,
I'd be in some of them too, but I wasn't building relationships there. I was building more relationships with my little network. And so what Nelson was able to do was kind of connect some of all of these different worlds and create this little perfect little storm with the Million Marathon. And once we all kind of came together, man, it just worked, man. And now we have one of the biggest night rooms on the app, probably. At this point, on a consistent basis. Yeah.
And as much as you are a star of that show, by the way, Jonathan is he's playing this role. I don't know. I don't understand if he's like playing this role on purpose, or if he just just does it perfectly. I don't know. I got him pissed off last night. I don't know if you were in there when I told him he was hanging on Biden's nuts, but I was just messing with him. He was ready to throw me off the stage. So I back channeled him real quick. I'm like, man, come on, man. I'm just trying to fire you up because I love everybody, man. I don't judge anybody for their views. Like if somebody likes one side or the other, I don't care. I want to elevate people to become unstoppable and living the life of their dreams. That's all I care about. And if anything else gets in the way of that, it gets out of my picture. So, but no, I love hanging with you guys. And sometimes it gets a little too rowdy. I just can't even like think because of the talking, but you guys do a good job of corralling everybody. But so what's the view of the future? Like, what's got you lit up about the future right now? What do you got your sights on?
Man, so right now we just started the Business Over Breakfast Wealth Community. So I'm excited about this because what we're doing is we're taking a lot of the people that are on Clubhouse and other platforms as well, and we're building our own separate community, C-Roc, where we're helping people transition their lives, man. And we're doing it at such a low price point and low barrier to entry. We really believe, I'm passionate about seeing, making some 6, 7, and 8-figure earners as a result of connecting with different people. Because right now we have so many people that have literally connected on Business Over Breakfast and created 7-figure deals, 8-figure deals. We've connected CEOs with CPAs that have done $1 million deals. It's just insane.
Yeah.
The potential that Clubhouse has from a networking standpoint. I met you.
Yeah. It's phenomenal.
It's
then there's some people that hate on it, but it's because they're not being intentional. I go there, I'm intentional. They might see my little picture there, but I'm like a duck on the top of the water. My feet are going like this underneath, man, because I'm hitting people up, connecting with people. I've made so many because I'm intentional, and Grant does the same thing. Like Grant's very intentional when he's there. He's not there just to fart around like most people think he is. He's very, very, very intelligent when it comes to this stuff. So
absolutely.
But I want to set up a 15-minute call with you because I'm going to have my assistant reach out to you because I got to show you. Grant wants me to show you guys and get you guys all in the blueprinted. It's not a course platform. Like a lot of people, when I talk about it at first, they're like, is that a course? It's not a course platform. And just for the audience as well, Blueprinted is a platform that I saw a need for because in my life, and same thing with you, when I wanted to do something, I'm determined as I don't know what, man. I'm relentless. I go get it, but it costs me not knowing how to do the things, money, time, stress, relationships, credibility, confidence. I mean, so many things. And I'm like, damn, dude, if I just had the steps, like granular steps, like somebody just gave me a recipe or the actual blueprint of build a house, like, man, I'd be so much further along and the people that depend on me would be so much more further along too. So I put this tech product together with Grant in the 10X incubator. And he's like, dude, you got to get these fellas in there. They're so smart. And I'm like, yeah, no worries. I'll get them. So I'm going to set up a call to show you that just so you can see it. And would love to get you guys another like point of access to your people to give them value and also, obviously a revenue stream. So we'll set that, get that on the books. But man, first of all, before I let you go, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Man, right now, I would say to definitely connect with me on Instagram. I'm very active there. I would say Instagram is a good portal to reach me, and that's Byron the Investor. You can also reach me on my YouTube and, of course, Clubhouse. But I would say definitely on my Instagram, Byron the Investor. You can find everything. You can find all the access points there, for sure.
Yeah, and if you guys want to engage live, you can go to the Business Over Breakfast and the Million Marathon. Breakfast, obviously, breakfast morning time, and the Million Marathons at 7 p.m. Eastern on Clubhouse. So you can find us there and hang out with us. So, Byron, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate you. Much gratitude, especially Thanksgiving coming up. Thank you, man.
Man, thank you, man. It was an absolute pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure.
You guys have been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, the Unstoppable Mike C-Roc, and the Unstoppable, obviously, after you just heard that story, the Unstoppable Byron Holman. Keep coming back, guys. We appreciate you so much. Go subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you like YouTube, because you can watch them, go there. Mike C-Roc, Ciorrocco, go subscribe there and keep coming back. And until next time, be unstoppable.